Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Megan Campbell and this is Making Stuff. So I know it's been like 3 months since my last video. I've just been extremely busy with commission work, but I thought I'd try and get at least one more video before the end of the year. So something that's been on my list of things that I want to make for the longest time has been a decent tool cabinet or tool chest. Now those kind of things are not readily available where I live, and if you do manage to find them, they are extremely expensive. So today I've decided I'm going to try and build one myself, and sort of at the same time I'm going to be dealing with this eyesore behind me. Now this bit of plastic shelving I bought quite some time ago. I actually bought it for some other reason, but it managed to find its way into my workshop. So the tool cabinet that I'm going to be making is going to be basically the same footprint as this, which is about 900 millimeters wide by 500 deep and 1200 high. I'm going to be making it on wheels so that I can move it around, and the basic drawer setup is going to be 3 70mm drawers followed by 4 100mm drawers and then 2 roughly 250mm drawers at the bottom. Now if I take the time to plan out really well what I'm going to put in here, this tool cabinet should be able to house quite a lot of stuff. And once the cabinet is done, I plan to, at least for the top slim drawers, to make foam inserts that go inside with cutouts for the specific tools that I want to put in there. I don't know if I'll have time for that in this video, as I'm going to have to draw and lay out every single one of the tools, and that will probably take quite some time. But we'll see how it goes. I have carved out roughly a week in my schedule so that I can try and get this project done, so we'll see how much I can get done in that time. So the material that I'm going to be making this with is what's known as shutterboard around here, and shutterboard is basically an 18mm construction plywood. It is very poor grade plywood because it's mainly meant for construction, pouring concrete and such things. So I'll have to do quite a bit of sanding, perhaps some painting to make it look nice. But it's the cheapest cheap goods that I can find in my area, so that's what I'm going to use. So I did take some time yesterday to draw up the design for this. I didn't do a 3D model for this like I usually do. I just quickly drew up the files in 2D using Illustrator, as I tend to work a little quicker when I do it that way. I'll be showing you a time lapse of the design process so that you can see how I go about putting something like this together. If there are people that are really interested in seeing the design process for something like this a little bit more in depth, just let me know down in the comments below. I have no problem putting another video out in the future, going a little bit more into depth about how I design these type of projects, especially in 2D using Illustrator. So all that's left now is to load up some material onto the machine, prepare all the tool paths, and we can get going. Okay, so before I can start with the tool paths, I first have to add fillets to all the inside corners. Now this is obviously something that I can do in Illustrator, but it just takes a lot longer. So I generally prefer to do it in VCarve Pro, as in VCarve Pro it is one-click operation, whereas in Illustrator it takes quite a bit longer. So once I've made all the fillets, all that's left is to calculate, simulate and export all of the toolpaths. So during this first sheets cut, I ran into some issues. As you'll see in a little bit, some of the pieces started moving around because I didn't add enough support tabs, because I thought I could save myself some cleanup time later, but in the end it didn't work out, so I had to recut a couple of those pieces. So here you can see some of those issues that I had. Luckily it wasn't too bad, there was only like 3 or 4 pieces that I had to recut. So here I'm cutting all of the drawer bottoms. I'm cutting this out of a 6mm MDF, and as you can see I'm double stacking them to get them cut a little bit quicker. Okay guys, so I made a bit of an oversight in terms of the design of this drawer. Let me do my best to explain here. So if you imagine that this is one of the drawer carcasses, this is the bottom of the drawer and this is the front panel. So the idea was basically to use a 6mm MDF skin as the bottom of the drawer, and that is what I've cut over here. So as you can see, it was going to fit in like this, and as you can see, I've made it so that when I install this panel that it is flush with the bottom of the drawer. Now the problem with that is I've realized that unfortunately there's no way for me to fasten this front panel to this securely because it's too thin. Initially I was planning on doing this bottom panel out of the same material as this, which would have made it easier then because I would have had a much thicker material to screw into from the front of this panel. But somewhere along the line I realized it was going to be a bit of a waste of material, so that's when I decided to change to the 6mm, but I didn't take into account this issue that I was going to have. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all of the drawer fronts and I'm just going to shave off that 6mm that I put in at the bottom, and that should allow me to mount it flush to the bottom. Thankfully I did cut these panels a little longer than they needed to be, so that's not going to be a problem at the back side. I'll still be able to glue and nail them in over there. The only issue I'm going to have is that this bottom little corner is going to be missing, so when you view it from the front it's going to look a little bit weird, but I may just cut a couple pieces of scrap here and glue that in there and it should be fine. So let me cut off this 6mm from all of the drawer fronts and then I can start assembling everything. Okay, so it looks like I've run into another slight issue. It seems that once I add the drawer slides to the side of this, it seems to be just a little bit too tight to fit into the cabinet. So I have to somehow come up with a way that I can shave off a millimeter, maybe 2 at the most, off of the side of the drawers to allow a bit more space for this to fit into the cabinet a little bit better. So I've come up with a jig using the router that's going to help me do that. Let me show you. So I'm using a standard PVA wall paint over here. I'm also mixing it with water, as this is water based. I'm mixing it half paint, half water, as it sprays a lot easier when it is nice and thin. So I knew from the beginning that I didn't want to purchase handles for this, not because I didn't want to spend the money, but because I thought it would look nicer if I had some custom-made handles. And that is what I'm busy cutting over here. So these are a bunch of spacers that I had left over from a previous job, and thankfully they worked out perfectly over here. So I was just using a bit of CA glue and gluing them to the back of these handles that I made, and I think they turned out really nicely. These are some old foam flooring mats that I've had lying around for years from when I used to have a home gym. I've been hoarding them for ages, and finally I've got a good use for them. Okay guys, so I'm about as done as I'm going to be for this video. It's 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. I've used up all of the time that I've budgeted for this project. I thought I'd quickly sit down and just record the outro for this video so that I can get all the footage done. I have to go and get ready now as I'm playing inline hockey national championships tonight. So wish me luck, because I'm definitely going to need it. So let's talk about this tool cabinet. All in all, I'm extremely happy with how this turned out. This is something that I really wanted for a long time. And it's really going to go a long way in terms of keeping organized in the shop. I have taken the time to populate some of these drawers. I did mention in the beginning of the video that I wanted to make cutouts for all the tools, but so far, for the most part, it seems like this foam flooring that I put in at the bottom seems to stop the tools from moving around too much while I'm opening and closing the drawers. So I very well may just leave it as is. At the very least, for the next couple of months, I will just get used to using it. And once I get to a point where I feel comfortable with the layout, I might go ahead and make it permanent. So this was really a fun project. I especially like these little wrenches that I made for the handles. That was just a sort of spur of the moment idea that I had last night. Quickly drew them up, I cut them this morning, and I think it turned out really well. It really looks a lot better than it needs to look for a shop tool cabinet. I also have to mention that assembling this thing definitely gave me a lot more headaches than it should have. and I think that is mostly due to the poor quality of this material. None of these panels are flat or straight, and the thickness is terribly inconsistent at best. So I had to make a lot of tweaks here and there in order to get everything to fit properly. But at the end of the day, thankfully everything seemed to turn out fine. So in closing, I wasn't planning on putting any plans for this on my website, as this is a thickness of material that's not very common overseas, and the design for this is basically specifically made for a 18mm plywood. How that translates in inches, I've got no idea. But if there's anyone that's interested, just hit me up in the comments below. I have no problem putting that on the website for anyone who's interested. If there's someone who would like the same plans but for a different thickness of material, you can ask me. I don't know when I'll be able to get around to it, but I can definitely make those changes if there's anyone that's interested. And with all that said, I'm extremely happy with how it turned out. I already have some ideas for future add-ons that I can make for this, perhaps a cabinet or two on top of it to add a little bit of extra storage. But I'm first going to get a bit of use out of this, and I'll see about any additions I want to make in the future. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. If you know anyone who would be interested in this project or who is in need of something like this, go ahead and share this with them. If you have any comments, questions or suggestions, go ahead and drop them in the comment section below. And as always, till next time, keep making stuff.